Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
This is Discover Crypto. Every day on this channel, we teach you how to make money with digital assets. I'm your host, DZ. Smash the like, everybody, as you come on in. We got a very huge story today as Bitcoin is crashing. That's right. We're now flirting with some new levels. This is the 5-minute candles we're looking at here, and Bitcoin has taken quite the tumble in a very short amount of time. You can see Bitcoin has now fallen $1,400 in about a half hour, $1,500. So the bears and the bulls yet again are fighting. But when we zoom out, you can see, all right, we are still testing a very, very important level of support. This goes all the way back to December of 2024. We're talking about from last year, everybody. And when we zoom in on this candle here, this 4-hour candles we're looking at, it is right now at a very, very strong inflection point. So Bitcoin, the bulls and the bears, someone's got to choose a direction. Someone's got to win here. And look how perfectly that just wicked down into our area. Our lines are looking pretty good today, TJ.
Yeah, they look strong. I think I saw somebody in the chat say they think we're going to bleed most of August and just get your DCAs ready. I generally agree with that. We've got a lot of tariff action today. It's one of those, when you get tons of bullish news coming out, but negative price action, it can be very frustrating if you're a new investor here. But just stay patient. Good times are coming in September. Goldman Sachs talking about 3 straight rate cuts. I believe that's going to happen. And really, the alt season that you've been promised, I do believe kicks off once we get into more of an easing environment. But yeah, looking at this chart, I do think most of August, we're going to be seeing a lot of chaos around the tariffs, whether they're kicking in certain areas and then trying to get renegotiated, extended, moved, yada, 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 what we've been dealing with all summer. I do think a lot of that finishes up this August, and I think that's what we're seeing happening right now with this correction. And I see this as an opportunity to accumulate, whether you're accumulating more Bitcoin, Ethereum's been performing extremely well the last couple months, or even your favorite altcoin. I saw somebody in the chat saying Arrow looking very juicy right now. I know it dumped pretty much last night. Somebody was asking why. I would imagine it has to do with the outage on the network, but we'll talk about that probably a little bit.
Yeah,
later.
we're going to talk about base. Base went down, everybody. If we just check in on Aerodrome on coin, ooh, look at that one. That one is also taking a little bit of a tumble. Looking at the 1-hour candle, we have now wicked below the recent low, and so this is spelling a little bit of potential more downside. However, once we zoom out, you can see, all right, there's another liquidity grab right here around 66 cents. So that might be a potential target as we tumble from 74 cents. Let's check in on ETH, and then we'll look at the rest of the market. Still have the ancient dragon resistance holding strong. And if you're wondering what the ancient dragon resistance is, this is resistance all the way from November 2021. We touched this in December 2024. This is the post-Trump pump. And then we had the tariff de-escalation. Crypto prices just tumbled across the board. And now we're coming back testing the ancient dragon resistance here. We got some chat here. It feels like every time we get momentum, we go straight back down again. That is how the markets are designed to treat you. They're designed to treat you like a tumbleweed. They're going to blow you all around. They're going to leave you dusty and destitute at the end if you're not paying attention, or if you overtrade and make too many moves. But this is going to be a major week for altcoins, so we're going to make sure we are prepared. And speaking of altcoins, let's actually go look at the prices here. So we're going to hit refresh. I want to show you this. 1 hour, Bitcoin was up 0.4%. This is about an hour ago. And look at that, is now down 1.1%. So we're seeing a fresh slurry of red candles across the board. Nothing is really up on the top coins here, except for Hype. Hype is getting a little bit of hype from its community. And Provenance Blockchain, I was looking at Hash last night. Hash was maybe something we need to look into. Hash is now at 40%. Mantle is up 10%. Polygon, it is not surprising we're seeing some L2s perform well, because base went down for 29 minutes. We're going to cover that. So if you hold any base ecosystem tokens, you need to stick around for that. And if you hold any ETH, you got an airdrop today. And we've talked about this, and we just posted on Discover Crypto why midnight is a game changer. We spoke to Crypto Crow. Big shout out to Crypto Crow here. And we got 10 reasons why. And buried below here in the description, if you're watching on YouTube, we do have a link to the Lace wallet. And so make sure you are well positioned to actually interact and do things with your Night token. And TJ, I've already started claiming. I've claimed from an Avalanche wallet and one of my Cardano wallets, maybe two of my Cardano wallets, but nice. I got a lot more.
Yeah, we haven't yet. It's on my list of things to go look at after the show today. I will say be careful out there. Make sure you're using verified links. That's why we're giving you a link to the Lace wallet. There's a lot of fake stuff with airdrop claims. A lot of times you want to be careful with wallet drainers. So take it easy with that. The question here, do we see BTC under 110K? I think that's a pretty interesting question. I do think there's some support around 108. That was a number I'd be watching if we do bleed most of this month. I do think 108 is possible. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, looking at the charts here, oftentimes what you'll see with the major asset like this, it'll sweep down to the previous highs, maybe wick in a little bit low. This is 111. And if you go down to the next, maybe serious area of contention, that's 109. So there is a chance we do go below 110, but I'm not really feeling bearish until we create, maybe a lower low, maybe from here. And I think we can go lower than this. I'm still not bearish. In fact, that's probably when I'm going to start accumulating and send out some more dry powder. We sent out a lot of our dry powder in the 80s. Didn't quite get the wicks in the 70s. These are like, in the wee hours of the night typically. But I'm ready for cheaper sats because I think long run, we all know where Bitcoin's heading. We know Bitcoin's going to be $1 million a year. And we have a post, let's see if I can find it, where you're not going to regret buying Bitcoin on a long enough timeline once you zoom out. There's nobody who bought Bitcoin in 2015 that regrets it today. And there's nobody who buys Bitcoin today that will regret it in 2035. It is a very simple formula once you start thinking about it, folks.
100% agree. I mean, I feel like I'm a lot more confident that Bitcoin can make it from 100K to $1 million. The path from 100K to $1 million is a lot easier than the path from 10K to 100K. I would say there's a lot more risk when Bitcoin was back at 10K. It's got a lot more substantial track record at this point, much bigger backers behind it. And it is getting close to the level of just traditional markets. And it is worth mentioning, Steve-O pointed this out, the S&P 500 having a significant pullback today as well. So this is really what you're seeing is just markets across the board pulling back. And I think it's, again, due to all this global uncertainty, this global trade. I think I saw like people from Switzerland are rushing over here right now to try to solve the 39% tariff that just went into effect. So now that these things are kicking in, it's causing all this chaos. And I do believe most of that will happen throughout the month of August. If we do pull back below 110, like somebody said, like, oh, Aave's dipping now, that's annoying, and Arrow down, like, I see all of those as a gift. If you have a strong conviction in Aave, which you should, it's one of the best performing revenue products out there, tons of TVL, a lot of big backers behind it. I see these as accumulation opportunities, and I believe smart money, big money is doing the same thing. The reason every time it feels like we're starting to get momentum, something comes and cuts us off, I think that's not necessarily an accident. I think Trump knows what he's doing. I think he, maybe is signaling to other people out there. Maybe this is somewhat of a coordinated effort by some of the richest people in the world to get accumulated and get positioned into the new financial order that they all know is rolling out, and you can't be stopped at this point. So they're positioning very aggressively through institutions like BlackRock, through things like Coinbase, through things like Robinhood. We even have some stories about a new exchange coming out later this year backed by Peter Thiel. So the elites are here and they don't play fair, and they're accumulating very aggressively. And I believe we've got about 1 month left for us to accumulate alongside them. And then I think we start to see substantial rate cuts. If we do see 3 cuts in a row, that's going to make for a very bullish market. Obviously, we know trillions are being printed. That's extremely bullish. So you have an opportunity to change your life forever by accumulating this year. And really, that time is probably, in my opinion, going to be up in September. Just
All
my
right.
2
And
cents.
speaking of up in September, they're wondering, is Kelly okay? Is he gone till September or is he gone till November?
No, he gets back this week sometime. I think
Gets back
what's
this week.
today's what, Tuesday? I think he's back Thursday or Friday. He is okay. I've he's had it, man. They had a tidal wave come in, and then I saw they had fires and stuff going down there again. So yeah, it's never boring with Kelly Kellum, but yeah, Mr. BitLab Academy will be back here shortly, and we miss him, and I'm sure he misses you guys.
All right, we got Emmy here. When you think Knight will be listed, also DZ, maybe a video on how to do this properly, if possible, please. Yeah, we did a little bit of a deep dive on Lace yesterday during the live stream, but it probably does deserve its own upload. So maybe keep an eye out for that this week because it is live. The midnight airdrop is live, and I love how easy Arculus is. But what are your thoughts on it being closed source? Just trying to learn. Huge fan. I think it's there's two ways you can do this. You can do open source. You can do closed source. Closed source, I don't mind as much when you have enterprise solutions. You have companies that are publicly listed, publicly traded, and have a lot of technology patents.
Mm-hmm.
It would make sense for them to have a little bit more closed source if you're using patented technology. Now, if it's just some guy in his mom's basement, nothing against people in their mom's basement, then maybe closed source versus open source would be a different conversation.
Yeah, we all started in mom's basement, right? But no, I think I agree with 100% with what you said. It's also, some people make the argument that that's, with a security product, that's stronger. Some people believe it's better for it to be open, but I've used it. I have a very high level of trust in Compost Secure, which again secures a lot of credit cards and American Express cards and all that sort of stuff, and that's not open source. So we use it a lot. I'll point over there, over by DZ, and I use several of them in a lot of different ways. I think it's a very, very good product to use. And if you want, we've got an ad here, and we'll run, and you get a 20% off.
I just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.
All right, let's get back into crypto right after this question. What about dad's basement? It's the same as mom's basement, but the washer and dryer aren't used. They're rusty, and there's soiled mattresses on the floor like a New York tunnel. Well, let's get into Bitcoin here. I have one more thing that we're going to get into the altcoin news. 2013, 2017, 2021, and now 2025. Every single one of these is a post-halving year. Halving year is when Bitcoin rewards are cut in half. We just had one in 24. Bitcoin tends to bottom in early August and then rally hard afterwards. The bottom is close. Now, obviously, we're not saying, well, if it did in the past, Bitcoin must do it again in the future, but it is something to summer trading lulls and then maybe some Q3 pumps that you see in traditional markets. And maybe this is spilling over into Bitcoin. And so once you zoom out, maybe things aren't as scary. And looking at Bitcoin 2013 run, that's this right here. Then we have the 2017 run. Started pumping. Let's see. So we're looking at August. Yeah, you see a little volatility. You see that August volatility, and then you see a nice little pump.
That's right where I got into crypto, right there, August 2017.
Nice. And then we have 2021. It's a little bit skewed because we're using a log chart here. And this had a very, very tumultuous June and July. And then that led into some August pumps. Right now, just zoom out, calm down. Things are going to be fine. But let's get into the crypto sprint. Let's get into what's happening in Washington. And then we'll talk about Trump trying to punish the banks who punish crypto. He's got the receipts. He's coming for you. Operation Chokepoint 2.0. All you Sam Bankman-Fried best friends, all those people in Maxine Waters' closed group chat, they're coming for you. And we're not going to stop this train. Crypto is coming for you. Traditional bankers, Wall Street bankers, you got to move over for Bitcoin. Well, let's start with CFTC. CFTC using the term crypto sprint in a formal press release. I hope you are paying attention. So we have the governing body over commodities, and we're hearing rumblings that most crypto will be labeled as commodities, and they're saying it is time for a crypto sprint. So the main cop on the beat is ready to accelerate crypto adoption here. So CFTC starts crypto sprint with the SEC following the White House plans. And so they have launched the crypto sprint to begin implementing crypto-related recommendations that the Trump White House has released. Now, some of the recommendations have you work closely with the SEC. Also, aim to implement agency-specific recommendations that the U.S. presidents, remember this report. We did videos on this report, the Working Group on Digital Asset Markets reports. This report, if you recall that video, if you did not watch that upload, you're totally missing out, but I'll give you a little bit of a reminder here. This report cited other reports. So Donald Trump's White House crypto report looked at crypto VCs crypto reports. And they started looking at these. Oh, what did Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz of A16Z say? What did Founders Fund, Peter Thiel's crypto venture firm, what did he have to say? What about the Winklevi's blog? What do they have to say? So we're talking about very well-connected billionaire technocrat oligarchs that are drafting this governmental recommendation list for your crypto assets. This is going to be very bullish. We're going to get a little bit into a sidetrack real quickly. So if you don't know Mark Andreessen, highly tied to, that's right, Peter Thiel. Now, we have a story on Peter Thiel later on. I'm just kind of setting the ground here, setting the stage. Peter Thiel, whoa, yes, he describes himself as, TJ, did you like his question or his answer when asked, are you the Antichrist?
No, we've talked about this a little.
No.
Yeah, he could just say no, or like the question, like, should humanity survive? You could just say yes.
If your question is, should humanity survive? You shouldn't lead with, well, not a good start.
No,
not a good start to that question. So yeah, there are billionaires connected to the Trump administration. Peter Thiel is the spearhead of this movement, and if you look, there is connection to JD Vance and connection to Mark Andreessen. Vance launched his own venture capital firm. He launched his capital firm. It was called Narya Capital. So after Yale Law School, after his hillbilly eulogy, he created his own VC firm after being hired by Peter Thiel at his VC firm. And so then he launched his own capital firm called Narya Capital. He received backing from, you guessed it, Peter Thiel and other billionaire investors like venture capitalist Mark Andreessen. And how about the Google CEO to boot there? If you weren't aware, Peter Thiel introduced JD Vance to Donald Trump in 2021. So we're using the White House reports that are essentially Peter Thiel's playbook and Mark Andreessen's playbook. This is going to be good. And if you haven't watched that video, go watch that video, because we're telling you what altcoins they're buying. We're telling you what's on their portfolio, and we're telling you what they have unlocks for 5 years in the past or in the future. So if they have a whole bunch of, let's just say, Aptos tokens unlocking in 2029, guess what? They're going to be pretty bullish on Aptos. So we're identifying these tokens and we're giving you the alpha. Make sure you're following this channel because no one else is doing the deep dives like this. We're detectives first and we're blockchain detective second. That's right. I'm going to be the Batman.
There you go.
Blockchain
You're,
space.
you're your own Batman and Robin. You got both.
I do have dead parents.
Oh.
So I have that going for
Got
me.
a good origin story. Also, I've seen a lot of these member
joke about that. It's true, but
hey. Member questions rolling in. I'm going to save some of those for later in the show to do a Q&A. So I'm seeing the questions and I'm starring them. We'll save them. I've got 4 saved right now. 1 from Crypto Glassworks, Jim at Crypto, Steve-O. So we will hit those a little bit later in the show. So stick around for that.
all right. Now, can we share a link to the video? I'll do that momentarily. Yeah, it's White House is telling you to buy these altcoins.
Yeah, I'll find it. I got it. I'll get it.
All right. Now, we do have some recommendations. The crypto group. Remember this crypto group that cites the billionaire playbooks here. They're making 18 recommendations. Of those, 2 of them are directly related to the CFTC, 2 of which directly concern this agency. Number 1, we have guidance on how crypto should be considered commodities, aka we don't have to worry about boring securities laws or an orange grove from 100 years ago, how its registration requirements would work. Now, the other 16 recommendations were tied up with other financial agencies such as the SEC and the Treasury. Some of these would be, for instance, tell the CFTC and the SEC to work jointly on coordinating or creating rule-making processes. So basically, everybody get in-house and let's all start coordinating, and then we could create our crypto guidelines, our crypto rule book, and you guarantee that that crypto guideline and crypto rule book is going to be very bullish for Peter Thiel's crypto portfolio, for Mark Andreessen's crypto portfolio, and at the end of the day, we hate to say it, but Donald Trump's crypto portfolio. His sons are out there like shitcoiners. They're out buying all the altcoins, and excuse my language, I'm going to do one. If you follow their wallets, maybe that's going to be a good blueprint for the future. My favorite altcoin that, let's say, all 3 of those are interested in, I mean, they all like Chainlink.
They all like ETH. They're buying a
They all like ETH. They all like ETH.
A ton of it.
Yeah, there
So
you go.
that's part of what gets, I've been an ETH holder obviously for a long time, but seeing the institutional push to accumulate Ethereum should be a signal if you're speculating.
All right, people liking the new look. It makes me feel less bad about watching this filth. Well, I am here to wash you. I'm going to dredge you and drown you in knowledge and alpha, and you're going to emerge fresh. You're going to emerge hairless and clean. Electron microscopes are going to be able to find any filth once you bathe in the DZ bathwater here. All right, let's talk about other White House moves here. That's not just it. They're now going to punish banks. They have an executive order to fine banks that discriminate against crypto companies and conservatives, mostly the crypto companies there. So he's going to order a probe, of crypto and political debanking claims. Now, Trump is going to come after the people who do not listen to these recommendations. So if you go after crypto companies, your days are numbered. Now, he's going to sign this EO directing the regulators to investigate those claims of debanking made by the crypto sector. Those found violating the law could face fines or other legal action. I don't think we're going to see a regulator under Elizabeth Warren's side banking committee. No one's going to see time. This is just going to be a lot of noise and a lot of theater. But at the end of the day, I think the shift is monumental. The shift is fundamental. And it is good to have a shift of friendliness towards these crypto companies and no longer strangulation by overregulation.
Yeah, it's the opposite of Operation Chokepoint 2.0. Like you said, I mean, they were basically pushing banks to shut down crypto people before. Now they're saying if you start treating them unfairly, we're gonna penalize you. So yeah, it's good to see a shift into the positive direction for sure. And it does bode well for the long term of crypto and altcoins. So
all right, we got John Jones, not the fighter, John O. Jones. Oh, wait a minute here. It is the market makers driving the price down. They want to flush the longs that get liquidated at $111,000. That happened the last washout a few days ago, so it could be happening now. Now, those finding, so we're going to see, you're going to be in trouble if you do this. Now, the executives have long alleged that the Biden administration conspired to cut crypto off from the financial system. They did that by pressuring banks into shirking clients, not shanking, shirking the clients involved in digital assets.
Well, and
it was in Luigi for the other thing.
And they haven't alleged this. They've proven this.
Oh, we get into that. Okay. The claims, the quote unquote claim. So how about a little thing called the Freedom of Information Act? Mm-hmm. They filed a lawsuit against the FDIC, and they showed that the agency asked certain financial institutions to pause crypto banking activities. Paul Grewal, he is the Coinbase head of legal. He showed that the industry's claim wasn't just some crypto conspiracy theory. It wasn't a conspiracy. This was actually happening. And we got to give our flowers to Nick Carter, not because his name is Nick, not because he sounds like he was in the Backstreet Boys, but he is the one that coined the term Operation Chokepoint 2.0 all the way back in February to describe perceived banking phenomenon, taking inspiration from Justice Department's Operation Chokepoint, which they did against banks and payday lenders in the 2010s. And really, this isn't Justice Department didn't go after banks and payday lenders too hard compared to guns and marijuana. Those were the people that are actually the victims of the first Operation Chokepoint. But I don't know why they don't mention that. It wasn't really the banks and the payday lenders. It's a little fugazi there.
Yeah, and the stuff with that, one of my favorite parts of this whole saga was when the Biden administration tried to hold like a crypto roundtable, like, oh, we want to change our stance against this, and they had a bunch of crypto industry elites in there, and they basically on the roundtable said, who among all of you who has experienced any discrimination from a bank, closed accounts, had a hard time getting banking. And it was like 80% of the crowd raised their hand. And then they were like, and then they came out right after that and said, oh yeah, there was, we didn't see any problems. They didn't say it. They didn't report anything. And everyone was like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? We all had problems. So this has been going on for a long time. It kind of ties back into what I mentioned at the top of the show. I do think this is manipulation from the wealthiest families of the world. I think they realized in 2020 or in 2021 that this cat was out of the bag. You're not going to stop this. You just have to adapt and roll with this. And that's when this rolled out, Operation Chokepoint 2.0. They basically destroyed, if you guys don't know the story of Silvergate Bank, they basically just cut them off at the knees, absolutely destroyed that bank, was one of the main banks banking crypto for a long time, was very successful. We covered a lot of this stuff on Blockchain Basement when it very first launched. We were covering a lot of the banking stuff going on. And I think this is all part of a macro strategy for the wealthiest people to end up controlling this industry, because they do know all of the value in the future will roll through blockchain ecosystems. And if you don't get control of it now, you never will. And that's why I think we saw a cutoff of the 2021 bull market that didn't play out as expected. And I think that's a big part of why I've predicted this cycle will be the end of diminishing returns. We're going to have a bigger bull market this year or this cycle than we have in previous ones. Still looking like potentially the 4-year cycle is dead. I saw somebody talking about that earlier. We will save that for later in the show, that discussion, because it's a big discussion of when this will end and what to expect beyond October, which it gets more and more interesting the closer we get.
Yeah, that is right. And we'll talk about more on Peter Thiel in a little bit, like we were saying. But first, let's talk about the airdrop that just happened. Midnight Foundation just announced this. This is 8 blockchains to our community. Your patience, passion, and belief brought us here. The moment you've been waiting for. Glacier drop from Midnight is officially live. Eligible wallets can begin the claim process. Midnight.gd. Make sure you're going to the right Midnight Foundation. It's going to be this one right there. And the Foundation Midnight Network is going to be the one with the yellow check mark. So these are going to be the official links. But we do have how to claim. We're going to do a video on that. And we have a Lace wallet download link right below. And so we cover everything you need to know. I just did a thread on how to claim this. So let me click here, go home, and you'll see it. I think it's pinned still. 33 million wallets are eligible, 8 chains. I just want to list the chains real quick. So if you self-custody a non-custodial wallet, something like a MetaMask, something like a Lace wallet. So if you hold Cardano, Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, XRP, BNB, Avalanche, or Brave, the BAT token, only the L1s, not the altcoins within the chain, you are you have qualified, and I have claimed from Avalanche and one of my Cardano wallets. So it is good to go. Lace, go check it out. Link down below. So Lace is the only wallet that has everything ready to go. Is Midnight a good project? We just posted on X 8 reasons on Discover Crypto. Give me 1 second. I'll look it up here. We talked to Crypto Crow, and we have 10 reasons why, big companies are going to like this. So go watch this. We just dropped it an hour ago. Already has 7,000 views in just 1 hour. So this one's taken off on the interweb. So if you want to learn more, is it good? Go check it out. You can't sell it yet. You can't sell it yet. I don't know when it's going to go to market. No one knows when it's going to go to market. Don't ask me when it's going to go to market.
Question from our
MetaMask
Rumble
Brave X?
family.
I did.
Yeah, you did use MetaMask?
I did use MetaMask.
There you go.
That is what they would call a self-custody wallet or non-custodial. Sometimes people mix those things. It's not a non-custody wallet. It's non-custodial, meaning you don't have someone else being your, they're not holding the custody for you. So, or self-custody there. All right, let's talk about ETH though. So now it's time to talk about ETH. What is going on with ETH? We're seeing all this good news. Why is the markets dumping? Well, BlackRock sold on behalf of their clients tons and tons of ETH. BlackRock led the record $465 million exodus. This is how much Wall Street sold, valued in Ethereum there. And so it was almost $500 million in net outflows. This was the highest in a single day since the ETH ETFs launched. Like we said, outflows of $465 million. But in July, ETH ETF saw $5 billion in inflows. So we have shed a lot yesterday. But if you look at what we pulled in just July, we are still in a fairly relatively good place. We have still pulled in $5 billion net. So very, very bullish. Now, BlackRock, I say, is the canary in the coal mine. Bearish. $375 million in net outflows. But if you look at the cumulative net inflow, still $9 billion has came into the sector. Now, some of that ETH has appreciated, and so net 9.3 is now worth 10.7. So we're still seeing a little bit of activity here. But Looks On Chain reported there are people buying. 3 wallets believed to be owned by whales or institutions bought $236 million worth of ETH over the OTC deals. And since July 9th, remember, that's just one day, yesterday, last 24 hours. And since the 9th, Looks On Chain have identified 14 new wallets. They've accumulated $3 billion in ETH. So for every buyer, there is a seller.
Yeah, they're definitely net accumulating. Not surprised to see some outflows. They probably knew some of this tariff stuff was coming today, and they prepared for it. So does Yori on Ledger?
Someone asked me that yesterday. So Yori is a Cardano project that's been around for years and years and years. Is one of the OGs in the Cardano wallet space. I am not sure what kind. Someone is getting that. Now, we have seen some wallets with the Flare airdrop with XRP. If you held XRP, you got Flare airdrop. Some wallets, some of these, cold storage, they kept it. Other ones gave it out.
Yeah, you'll have to just check. It's kind of like Exodus is a self-custody wallet that we use a lot, and same thing. They don't always share the airdrops with you, so that's something you're gonna have to check on each one of those. Somebody else was asking if you should connect Ledger to Lace.
I'm not sure if Lace can connect to Ledger, but I mean, if the compatibility is there, I would 100% and see if that helps out, because Lace is going to be the top wallet for the Night token. And so if there is one that would, my guess is it would be that one there. That's not all the ETH accumulation. Maybe one of those 14 wallets is Bitmine. Bitmine just hit a big milestone, 833,000 ETH. They have now hit $3 billion. They have the largest ETH treasury in the world. And when you zoom out and include Bitcoin, they have the third largest crypto war chest. Very, very large treasury there. One of the big macro trends they're saying is ETH. So they have more ETH than Riot has Bitcoin, then Metaplanet has Bitcoin. Then SharpLink is the other ETH participant there. You can see they have a lot of Ethereum there. And this is color-coded except for the yellow. ETH is going to be the fuchsia, magenta. maybe you call it purple. And then we have Bitcoin orange for Bitcoin.
Wow, they're accumulating fast. They're accumulating, or they've had it, I guess.
They've climbed that leaderboard like there's no tomorrow. They climbed it like a kid with autism playing World of Warcraft. I'm talking about you, SBF. No, he sucks. He just climbs downwardly.
That was League too, yeah.
That was you. Who played, was it League of Legends? I said World of Warcraft.
No, World of Warcraft was Vitalik. That's right. That's part of what inspired him to create Ethereum, and what he realized the issue with centralization was when they nerfed, I don't know if it was his character or the weapon.
I think it was an item. I think it was a weapon. Maybe it was an item
or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he just spent a whole bunch of in-game currency buying a battle axe that cleaves dwarven chests.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they nerfed it, and it couldn't even split never mind. I'm not gonna split a hair. It couldn't even split a hair. And then that created Ethereum.
There you go.
That was the genesis there. Just a quick side note here. It is funny when you hear these founders talk about, I got interested in coding. Brian Armstrong is what I'm thinking about. And also Charles Hoskin. I was interested in coding around like in middle school. I was in middle school and I was like coding games. I think Vitalik said he started at age 9.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked, remember
we had 8.
We had his mom on for an interview, and you asked, like, when did you know like he was different? She's like, when he was like a master Excel spreadsheet at like 4 years old or 3 years old.
The doctor held him up to spank his bottom, and he turned his head slowly and said, "Hello, mother."
Yeah.
Like, this kid's
he diagnosed
different.
Himself. Yeah.
Give me the scissors. I'll cut my umbilical cord.
Yeah.
All right. Did you know there's nutrients for? Okay. Mega whales are also buying tons of ETH. When you look at the chart, you can see a gigantic spike right there. This is just measuring ETH addresses with a balance of more than 10,000. So the whales are climbing and climbing and climbing. You can see hundreds. I think there's hundreds. About 875, 975, about 1070. Yeah, 200 fresh wallets now have 10,000 ETH in a very, very short amount of time.
So here's the answer of connecting Lace to Ledger. So it does fully support connecting hardware wallets, Nano S, S Plus, Nano X. I think the other question was Yori on it. So clearly it works with a Ledger. You'll have to check on the Yori stuff still.
Yeah. Shout out to Lace, by the way. Like I said, we have the download link down below. Now, ETH is going to lead the run, everybody. And if you look, Bitcoin is now down 45% against ETH. Solana, 49% against ETH. And all of this is in the last 3 months. We talked about this in, I think, last night's video. So front run of the news there. Now, we do have different expectations from Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs, a very powerful bank. They are now expecting 3 consecutive rate cuts starting in September. Looks like we're getting more liquidity, good for risk assets like Bitcoin. I think it is tonight's video. Tonight's video. Is it? I think it's tonight, right? Where I go over, we were brainstorming what to cover. Basically, why the Fed cutting rates is good for altcoins, but is it really? And so we go back and we look at the last 4 rate cuts. There's one in December 24, November 24, September 24, and March 2020 were the last 4 rate cuts. I look at all of those, and I look at the 4 major altcoins, look at ETH, Solana, Cardano, XRP. I see how they performed during that period, and what exactly is your exit strategy for alt season. Look at how they pump. So that is the video going out tonight. We put a lot of research in it, and I even put on the accounting hat and we bust out a spreadsheet. Now, I'm not mastering it at age 4, but how many other crypto YouTubers are busting out this Excel sheets? It's what, me and Virtual Bacon,
Maybe
Cowan.
Cowan, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm smarter than socially.
No,
I'd give myself, look, if one of us had to sell a ketchup popsicle to someone in white gloves, I'm betting on me every day.
There you go. The best bet you can make is betting on yourself most of the time. So
the best bet Disco Fam could do is betting on this channel right now. Hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed. We bring you crypto content 7 days a week. I'm DZ. Who do we got in the corner?
I'm TJ. I'm actually not in the corner anymore. I'm on the side.
Right, old school.
I used to be in the corner.
Used to be.
I made my
Virtual
way
Bacon is bullish on altcoins, and
I wouldn't call him
he's a smart guy, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him. I feel like he has very realistic takes. I mean, I think he breaks it down pretty well. There's definitely moon boys out there. Like I saw somebody tweet yesterday that a bunch of altcoins can 100, or maybe it was today, a bunch of altcoins can 100x this month. That's moon boy. And I get what they're saying. Yeah, you find enough micro caps, it can happen, but I think it's a little disingenuous. But I want to come back to this on Polymarket. It is interesting seeing this is like how many Fed rate cuts in 2025. Goldman Sachs is in this 19% area here, saying 3 rate cuts, 25 basis points each. Only 19% believe that. We're trending up towards the majority believing we're going to get 2. I'll be interested to see how this changes. You see, just recently, this blue line here for 2 has been going up pretty quickly over the last couple of weeks. So I feel very confident we're going to get 2. Definitely getting 1 in September. Probably 1. I think there's 3 meetings left.
I got the news right here. I was simpatico. Looks like the next one obviously is going to be September. We've been talking about that one. Next one is October 28th, 29th, and then we have December 9th and 10th. These are going to be the next 3 meetings.
There you go. And so Goldman Sachs saying cut 25 basis point in each. Odds looks like they're leaning towards, I think this will cross over 50% pretty soon. And this Polymarket money has been very good at predicting a lot of these things in the future, especially like politics and some of that sort of stuff. It's something I've been enjoying watching more, and it's kind of fun. Fun to take some of these bets sometimes just for fun, throwing $100 on there and stuff. But I would take that bet on that there's going to be 2 before the end of the year. 3 is ambitious, but not out of the cards. And Goldman Sachs, I don't know. Sometimes with these financial institutions, they put these predictions out there because they want them to become true. And they know that they're enough of an authority in the space that if they're calling for it and then some other bank calls for it, it kind of pressures some of the entities to fall in line. 2, I feel very confident in. 3, would be a lot of fun. We'll just say that.
All right, now let's go from a lot of fun to a lot of doom and gloom.
Boo.
About the U.S. economy and our debt obligations. I went to school for accounting. I'm going to try to simplify this as best as I can. I'm not going to, let's just try to boil this down into easy to digest compatibility little nuggets here. All right, we just want little nuggets. So you think Uncle Sam owes 37 trillion? It's far worse than that. Essentially, you're going to keep hearing the national debt hit 37 trillion, but actually it is worse, far worse. It's actually more like 151 trillion. Now, this huge discrepancy comes from one little thing. It's their accounting standard. Rather than using accrual accounting, this means if you're paying for Disney Plus and you have a 12-month subscription and you pay the first month, you would still have an unfunded liability of 11 monthly payments. So they don't count their unfunded liabilities. They don't count their future bills. They're not counting those. So it only focuses on the national debt, aka expenses when they're incurred. So they only have the 1 month's bill. They don't have the next 11 months. But you signed a contract and you have to have it for a year. So you definitely have a bill coming due. They don't add that on the debt. But this is what companies have to do. This is what businesses have to do, but the government doesn't have to do it. Rules for thee, but not for me. We see that a lot with the government here. However, once a year, we do get that report. That report is only due to a 1994 law. I guess shout out to Bill Clinton, and I think it was a Republican House there. And so if you look at that, primarily it's going to be Social Security and Medicare. These are going to be the largest unfunded liabilities, the largest future bills. Those future bills equal $105 trillion. This will give you a net negative $143 trillion. But it gets a little bit worse when you look at a specific number. Basically, all the money that we have doesn't come close. And if you look, it looks like our national debt is increasing $156 million per hour. So we're, here's where it goes. So 143 trillion net negative. All the wealth we've accumulated since the nation's foundings, we're talking about savings, real estate, corporate stocks, private businesses, goods like automobiles, furniture. It's only 169 trillion. So we're deeply, 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 deeply in debt. And there's no stopping this train.
Yep.
No stopping this train there. So, unfunded liabilities, 37 trillion's nothing. It is nothing, folks.
Well, and then we got Mr. Techno Goody said the best thing about the national debt is we could default and the entity we actually owe it to can't really do anything about it. That is essentially true. That's what makes all of this very fascinating, because some people believe that is the path that we're on to intentionally, hey, we're going to declare bankruptcy, which it'd be really interesting if that happens under Trump's term, considering his history with that. And, you know, we're going to default on our debt and we're going to rebuild, and it'll be real. That would obviously rock the world. That would cause a lot of chaos.
You want to see the debt, how it increases? This is just a nice graph, and then we'll move forward here. The interest on our debt is the red line. And you can see after COVID, it's soon to be our largest expenditure, roughly 15 years from now.
And it's going up fast. Fast. Like that's where does that cut off?
It's faster than a girl who smokes cigarettes in high school.
Yeah. That goes to 2050, assuming we're not going to keep spending, but we are. We just decided we're going to print trillions more dollars, and we're going in deeper into debt. So that means those interest rates are going up even more. So
bad stuff there. Now Bitcoin, though, what is the solution? Bitcoin is the solution. I talked a little bit about this in the beginning of the show, but it looks good. If you zoom out now, I am interested. Did the recent dump come back down and test the 50-day MA? I believe we talked about this. So we have it right here. I'm sorry, my boomer eyes there. Wow, look at that. We came down. Let me get rid of this perfectly placed horizontal line. Yeah, we came down, we tested it, and we're testing it a third time. We definitely need to hold the 50-day moving average as support. But we can wick below and maybe even close the daily below. And then that can still act as fuel for the rally. But if we have like a confirmed breakdown, multiple candles below this line, maybe that's going to be a little bit of a rough patch. If you look, last time that happened, Bitcoin did decline, would eventually decline 25%. Actually, not as bad as I thought. This bull market's different, folks. This bull market is different. Now, demand and supply, not nearly enough. Remember, only 450 are mined every single day. And if you look, 450 an hour, 3,150 Bitcoin is mined. And we are smoking that when it comes to accumulation. So net, the companies are buying much more Bitcoin than is being created by the miners there. Now, we haven't looked at M2 in a while. And last time we looked, TJ, it looked pretty scary. I don't know if you're on that show, but it quit going vertical. Well, we got good news. It's starting to go vertical again. It had a nice little bounce. We must wait to see if it forms a new all-time high or just a little dead cat bounce, a little lower high. A new all-time high means this corrective area was just a sub-peak for Bitcoin. Lower high means final top could be on the table, but we'll know a little bit more in 2 weeks as the M2 line unfolds. This is the little bit of a bounce there. And we were saying essentially, M2 money supply needs to pick up, and it needs to pick up pretty quickly. And it looks like it did pick up. So bull run's back on. Bull run is back on. I saw someone in the chat saying, oh, we're still waiting for a bull run. We've had bull runs in several tokens, a lot of tokens. XRP. If you bought XRP a year ago, you've had a huge bull run. If you bought Bitcoin a year ago, you're still looking pretty good. And there's a lot of coins. If you buy, I think Cardano is outperformed ETH and Solana. If you bought that a year ago, you're doing very, very well. We're just not, maybe we're expecting parabolic highs. We're expecting, 50% pumps, 30% pumps in one day. Those days may be gone forever. It's easy mode is off. That's why you got to be a little bit more locked in compared to 2020, 2021. And you could do that by following this channel and making sure you're reposting this on X. Let's get in your algo. And I do appreciate all the X runners out there reposting this stream. You guys are the real ones out there. But now let's talk about the fake one or the real Antichrist. No, he's not the Antichrist. Peter Thiel, his back crypto exchange, Bullish, plans to raise up 629 million in a U.S. IPO, targeting a $4 billion valuation, according to its SEC filing. Now, we already, slammed Peter Thiel against the table. That's what he would want. No, we already dogged him enough, drug him through the mud.
That got me. That was funny.
Sometimes
let's not go there.
Yeah, let's not go there. Not that guy. I'm gonna have those silent helicopters circling my house.
He's
tonight.
already in our network.
He's in the chat right now.
Tesla, just so you know, he could drive you off a cliff.
He actually can, because I do ride around in an autonomous drone. At the end of the day, my Tesla is an autonomous drone. There's cameras, there's sensors, and there's a central authority that can control it against my wishes. And if that's not me almost being a victim in my own drone, I don't know what is. But hopefully the drone won't turn on me. Headlights turn red. The doors, you see the lock button go down.
Yeah.
That would be bad. I'm going to take a little sip of coffee. If everybody has a little caffeine drink, we can all do it together. And we feel a dopamine hit. 3, 2, 1.
I don't have caffeine, but I got electrolytes.
Hey, that potassium and sodium's got to count for something, right?
Something.
I do like how Gatorade was made for the Florida Gators.
Yeah.
And it was to aid the Gators.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that makes sense when you heard that. All right, now let's get back to Peter Thiel. So CoinDesk owner. That's right, CoinDesk. Now, we're using Cointelegraph for this one because, I don't want any fugazi going on in my article. CoinDesk owner Bullish eyeing that $4 billion valuation in an IPO backed by BlackRock. Well, what do you know, folks? So probably going to launch successfully. Let's just say that. So they're going to raise around 550 to 600 million in their IPO, having drawn interest from the major investors out there. Looks like they're going to value at $4 billion. And it could begin trading as soon as August 12th. We're talking about 1 week from today. Now, investment accounts managed by BlackRock and Cathie Wood's ARK have indicated interest in purchasing $200 million worth of the stock at the IPO price. Now, they have a digital asset platform for institutions available in 50 jurisdictions, excluding the U.S. Now, they expanded into crypto media in 23 by acquiring CoinDesk from Digital Currency Group, who is locked in a lot of lawsuits and just litigious action. They bought it from them for $72 million. So very, very valuable company come in. Peter Thiel, I went in on why this guy is important to crypto, important to politics, and honestly, you could probably do very well aligning your investments with his investments, because Trump administration, just simply put, is going to be very favorable for those companies and those portfolios, is my thesis there. Do I have any proof? No. Do I know JD Vance and Peter Thiel, hold hands and frolic through the prairie? No, but it's just what I picture when I close my eyes every time when I go to bed.
I was saying Marjorie Green Taylor knows. She bought a bunch of Palantir stock right before they got that huge contract.
And I have Palantir stock, so it's not like if you disagree with someone's backroom deals, don't buy their crypto. No, or their company stock. I mean, I'm still going to buy. And right now, WorldCoin actually on the charts looks very bullish. I'm not going to buy any WorldCoin though.
Yeah,
probably should. That's
how I feel. Yeah, I was saying that about Pump the other day. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Pump Fun or meme coins or whatever, but if I was gonna buy it, it was recently when it was their chart looks like at a bottom. I think Alan's back on the timeline wanting to get some revenge. They're still not performing well when it comes to revenue, but if I was, it'd be right here at the bottom. So, but I'm not. So.
All right.
Also, don't forget to save a few minutes. I do have 6 or 8 questions saved.
Okay. Yeah. We still got XRP news. Let's get into the Solana news. Just real quick, kind of briefly talked about it yesterday. Solana has begun shipping the Seeker device into 50 different countries here. And so this is 150,000 pre-orders on this phone, and it's going to come with a wallet and a dApp store. And my guess is going to see a lot of airdrops related to this. Sold at 2 different prices, $450, $500, and it should make Solana Labs subsidiary Solana Mobile $67 million. Why could they not just earn 69? That was the real goal there. Also, we have base downtime. That's why we saw a lot of issues going on with a lot of the base ecosystem tokens. Why Arrow, fell a little bit more. Yeah, tons of companies still filing for Solana ETFs. We're still waiting for BlackRock, though, Steve-O. Once BlackRock goes, we know it's a done deal. Now, Base had a downtime, first one since 23, and the downtime lasted for 29 minutes. TJ, what was the joke that you saw?
I agreed. It said Base wants to be Solana so bad it even has some downtime, which is, it's good. It's good.
Makes me want to do the Antonio Banderas.
Yeah.
Tough. Now it ground to a halt first time since 23. What was down? Block production, deposits, withdrawals, and flash block operations for 29 minutes before service resumed. And it looks like 6:43. They said we're investigating the stoppage. And then a minute later, they said it's been resolved. I don't know if they resolved the issue and then right before they're about to resolve it, did that post, or if they saw that it was down and it took them literally 60 seconds to fix the blockchain. I don't know. Is that a good thing? It could fix in 60. I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that it got going again. It's not a good thing that they had an outage for 29 minutes. I mean, obviously, traditional markets shut down every night, so traditional markets are used to it. But, I mean, that's one of been my bigger things. If you're running DeFi, and especially DeFi at scale, you do not want to see any downtime whatsoever, especially in 24/7 markets. We did see it immediately. Somebody in our Discord was like, why is Airdrop crashing? And that was the reason. Obviously, Airdrop, the #1 DEX on there. It is interesting to me that this happened, I believe, the same day or the day after they were trying to integrate that into the base app. So I don't know if there was some load testing that was going on. I'm not sure what the details of it were, and don't like to see it.
So it's like Teal and Vance. They're just testing the bottom.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Now, remember we were talking about the White House going after banks that don't want to offer crypto services or banking services to crypto companies. Great news for XRP. Apparently, 42 banks tried to block Ripple's bank license. Here's why Wall Street is scared of XRP. And so something interesting to look at right there, why they're really afraid. No Swift delays, no Nostra Vostro accounts, and no 3 to 5 day wires. Basically, speed, ease, and cost are going to be reasons why banks don't want to use this. And it looks like maybe we're seeing firms quietly add XRP to the balance sheets via the SEC. And this came from pro Ripple lawyer, not John Deaton. Came from Bill Morgan, and he shared a couple key findings here. I just went to his post here. Flora Growth Corp shows it holds a little XRP, Solana, and ETH on his balance sheet. Hyperscale data, and Hyperscale said they're going to do 10 million in XRP. And Flora looks like they have 44,000 XRP tokens. And so not a whole lot, but it's a start of something. And then we got this last story. Then we'll go into your questions, Disco fam. EU proposal to scan your private messages is gaining momentum. 27 member states, if I'm not mistaken. So 19 of the 27 reportedly backing this measure. It's going to mandate messaging platforms like WhatsApp, Signal, and Telegram must scan every message, photo, and video sent by users starting in October, even if encryption is in place. And to me, this is a clear backdoor to some of these companies' end-to-end encryption. Now, WhatsApp already, Signal as well, and Telegram. The two main intelligence agencies can read this. That has been very clear. Anyone paying attention knows the blank and the blank can read this all day, every day. And so this, I think, is going to be for those 19 member states that are out of the loop. Hey, I want to read Signal apps. Well, how come only Peter Thiel can? How come only he can look at WhatsApp? I want to look at WhatsApp as well. And so now it's just trying to create more backdoors for government agencies to read your messages. This is the entire antithesis of crypto. Crypto is software. And at the end of the day, software is free speech. And so I'm a free speech maximalist. And so when I see this, I am disgusted. I'm disgusted with these 19 member states. I'm disgusted with people living in the EU who aren't standing up, who aren't fighting. And I understand some people, they're scared of being thrown in jail. And so I do give you some sympathy. I don't expect you got kids to feed. I don't expect you to post memes that are going to get you thrown in jail. But you can do something, and that's vote. And you can mobilize, and you can knock on doors, and you could donate to the candidates that are pro-freedom. You're losing your freedom. Crypto is going to be a mechanism of freedom. And that's why I fight every day for this movement. Now, TJ, I heard you have some questions.
Yeah. We're going to pull some questions, some from earlier in the show. A couple of them we already hit, but Crypto Glassworks says, I think the 4-year cycle is dead. Have you formed a full opinion on this yet? Yes or no?
I think there's still going to be tail end effects from the fears of a 4-year cycle. And even if the 4-year cycle is dead, as in miners don't dump Bitcoin like they consistently have in the past, you're still going to have echoes and sentiment of one. And so that will create selling pressure, which I then think creates at least one more 4-year cycle.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree that we've seen not just miners, But the fact that Coinbase is raising all this money, and basically what they're saying they're going to use it for is their operations, and they're trying to hoard their Bitcoin on their balance sheet as well. I think we're starting to see more and more of that, less selling pressure. Then we have Jim here saying, this will be interesting about the 4-year cycle. I round trip my bags. Last cycle, as everyone was saying, it was going to 100K. Not going to do it again. I'm going to take profits, I think is what he said later on.
Yeah, that's good. Always take profits.
Yeah.
You don't go broke taking profits.
Taking profits on the way up is definitely a good thing to do. I'm in a accumulate as much Bitcoin as I can for my life type mode.
You're like, I'll sell altcoins for Bitcoin.
Correct.
Yes, me too.
And I'm not sure that I will sell any Bitcoin this time around. I've made that mistake in the past. Like I said, I thought I was doing good. I crushed selling the top in 2021. Sold. The problem is when you sell Bitcoin, you have to sell it for something. Are you selling it for dollars? Are you selling it for something that holds its value better than dollars? I thought I was doing good to sell it for real estate. Now the real estate's worth way less Bitcoin than it once was if I just held the Bitcoin. So
I lived in a hit network house and I was under TJ's thumb.
Oh,
no. He was a great landlord, but at the end of the day, I want to be, I moved out here to work for this company, immediately lived in a company house and sold some Bitcoin to
get a house.
To get a house. So,
and there's nothing wrong with that. Like you should always, if you're using it to change something in your life, I think that's one of the best.
I see a path of cardboard boxes in an alley while eating cup of ramen, and I have a whole lot of Bitcoin in that scenario.
You do. But then at some point you have to
stabbed by a homeless man at night with a shiv or a fentanyl needle. So.
And at some point though, you have to use it to change your life. So most of the time when somebody's asking me, should I take profits? My question is, what are you going to do with it? If you're going to pay off debt that's affecting you psychologically, if you're going to get a home that's going to hold its value for a long time and you need a place to live, and you want to get out of the rental cycle, by all means, do those things. But if you're going to sell it because you think you're going to buy it back cheaper and make more, like you better really have a plan, because I've seen so many people try to do that and not do it successfully.
And typically at the depths of the bear, you will have questions like, are the governments cracking down on it? Like, is it going a lot lower? That guy said 10K.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, if the U.S. really is going into hyperinflation and the dollar is going to crash, and it's like the whole we're going into a global recession, will assets pull back? Yes, absolutely, they will. And so if you need it in the short term, if you think you're going to need it to pay your taxes, that's one thing I'll always tell people. If you've taken profits, say you pulled money out and bought a property or something, when you do, make sure you take enough to pay your taxes too, because what you don't want is a bear market in 26 or 27. You get a fat 6-figure tax bill and you have to now sell at the bottom. I've seen that happen to a lot of people as well. So, you just always want to be careful about, there's always a and I agree. That's why it's so hard for me to be out here saying, like, I think potentially the 4-year cycle is dead. I think we're going to be bullish into 2026 with all the money printing and rate cuts and all those sorts of things. I think we're going to stay bullish. That being said, I have heard that 2 other times, in the previous 2 cycles, and it has not proven to be true. So, my biggest, I will know where I land in October, because I'm going to be looking to allocate some capital in October. And if I'm either going to put it all in Bitcoin in October or I'm not. And that, like, you always know where you put your money. That's where your true conviction is. So, also Pete Jr., how low will ETH go this week? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Go to the 4-hour. Let's look at some recent liquidity levels.
And I can say in the Discord, we did, a lot of our communities took a short around 3,700. They were targeting 3,500 as far as closing those trades. It could, just real loose TA when I'm looking at. I mean, we were at 3,400 not that long ago. So
looking at Binance liquidation levels, we have swept a lot of the downside liquidity. We go to the 48-hour. We're gonna see a little bit more here. Looks like it's still another level at 3,500. And I do not like that we don't have a lot of strong magnets to the upside. Not enough people shorted ETH for them to get wrecked. And so that could be a potential, pain point there. But if you go to the short time frames, they are starting to open some shorts in the last 12 hours. So maybe that'll be the rally there. Maybe that'll be the fuel. The BlackRock selling tons and tons of ETH yesterday makes it a little bit hard to gauge. If they had not been selling, I'm saying, oh yeah, it's a sure path to 4K sooner rather than later. But with BlackRock selling, that is going to create some selling pressure. Now, maybe there's something to OTC deals, and maybe people want a cheaper ETH. I don't know if I would go that far. I'm leaning, let's just go back to the 48-hour. Let's go to, we'll do one more. We'll do Gate. I'm leaning like we might have one more little wick down.
Yeah, I mean, just if you look at the pressure for today, 3,500 is not a bad target if you're in a short. You know, like if you took that short from 3,700 on ETH to 35, that's plenty of profit there. I think there's a lot of people thinking there's going to be chaos. You know, again, most of this month, the next couple of weeks. I want to say mid-August is according to the M2. Is that what it was like August 12th or something like that? We might see some, so like a week from now. So we could range, or chop downward for the next week or so. Wouldn't surprise me.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that as support. We just drew there.
Which is what?
This is these are 4-hour candles, and this trend line kind of starts all the way back in May. You can see it hit here, it hit in later May, then it hit in June. Kind of flirted with this level in July, so we could come down a little bit there. That could be a potential target that's going to be around 3,200 there. So I can see a lot of traders, traditional value investors, loading up tons of ETH here because they do want to get that asset before it hits $4,000, $5,000, maybe $7,000.
Yeah, that would be painful. But somebody asked why October. That's just when traditional 4-year cycle theory. September should be the top-ish for Bitcoin. October top-ish.
And if you think of the last tops, December 2017, November 2021, October 2025.
Yeah, because it's not really 4 years. It's a certain amount of blocks, which sometimes works out to 3 years and 11 months or 10 months. Just kind of depends on how fast the blocks get solved. So that's why it kind of goes backwards 1 month each time. But yeah, that looks like all the questions we have time for today. Steve-O did ask specific request from Steve-O for a video highlighting what happens in the past when we get rate cuts. So,
like I said, we go back in history. We look at September 24, November 24, December 24, March 2020, and we look at the top 4. I look at your Solana, Steve-O. I look at your Solana, and then we measure how short are these alt seasons in the past. And I look at like the last 2 strong quote unquote alt season rallies for these 4 cryptocurrencies. We look at the average pump. We look at the average length of days. We derive from that data potential exit strategies. And we look at the Fed rates as kind of the anchor for this entire thesis. So go watch tonight's video. Gosh, dang, it's a banger. I'm just talking about it. I'm getting excited here.
All right. Smash the likes on the way out. We'll see you guys at the top.
Love it.